Hi, Sandy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Welcome to the A.D.K Rock and Metal channel and to our Breaking Down and Pulling Apart series where we take a song, we break it into 1 minute blocks, dissect it. We've already watched the videos. We've got away, made our notes about these particular tracks to share our thoughts on them. Today's video is a band called Lamb of God, and the song is Memento Mori. It's off of their 2020 album. And Lamb have been around since 1994. A bit of a theme today so far. Bands from 1994 reviewed by the sounds of it. And they are classed as part of the new wave of American heavy metal. These are like today we've done American metalcore and new wave of. I didn't even know new wave of American heavy metal was such a thing.
It's kind of disappeared. It's a term that had come in. You had Trivium, Lamb of God, all these bands that had more of a thrash metal influence. We're taking elements of metalcore as well, and kind of Machine Head and Slipknot got brought in as the godfathers of it, but it's disappeared now. I don't think anyone really uses the term, but it was quite exciting at the time. Obviously Killswitch Engage was spearheading it as well. So these are the band that are probably the most successful to come out of that scene.
Yeah, I really like Lamb of God, but I've always found it difficult to categorize because they're not thrash, they're not groove metal, but I have heard them termed as American metal or new wave of American metal. As you say, you've thrown a few other names in there, Kirk, and kind of all makes sense. It's a very small genre if you include those bands that you've named, but
because they'll sit on a bill quite comfortably. If you put them on a bill with Killswitch Engage, it's fine. If you put them on a bill with Ginger, it's fine. Put them on a bill with Megadeth, fine. They can sit on a bill with pretty much any band. You put them on there with Obituary, yeah, fine. They'll get away with it no matter because they've got enough elements from different genres that everyone will kind of go, it's Lamb of God. Yeah, no, that's fine. It's cool. It's interesting. Now, we've got 6 sections. We've broken the video into 1 minute blocks. We've got 6 sections to go through for you today. So without further ado, we're going to play you the first minute of the song for you at home, and then we'll come in with our thoughts on it.
Darkest river beneath the leafless trees, I think I'm drowning. This dream is killing me. In the coldest winter, between the fading lights, I feel I'm falling into a frozen sky.
Okay, so first minute, we get this real kind of ominous intro to the song for me. It was like, I didn't know this song. I'm literally one of these guys that goes, Lamb of God. Yeah, I know Laid to Rest. That's it. That is it for me. I know one song by this band that I could tell you what it is. Everything else, I've probably heard bits from the band, but I couldn't tell you a single name of them. But it's great. It builds tension. Love the cinematography, lighting, and angles on this. This was just the way they shot it, not necessarily the context, but it just had this really intimidating, ominous vibe in the actual the way they'd shot all their angles. And for that first minute, because it doesn't really kick into the song in the first minute, it doesn't give you any indication of where that track's going to go. So I didn't know what this song's going to be about. Having not heard it, I'm like, is this going to be the absolute fastest speed blast metal that I'm going to have? Is it going to be screaming in my face? Is it going to build over like 5 minutes? I have no idea. And that was cool. I really enjoyed that first minute before I got into the actual song. So Andy, first minute for you.
You must know Ruin as well, Dave.
Huh?
If you say no, I only know Laid to Rest by Lamb of God, I bet you know Ruin as well.
If you played it, I'll probably go, I've heard it, but I couldn't tell you about it.
That's their other one. They're the two that I first heard.
Oh, Redneck. That's one of theirs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other one. I couldn't tell you how it goes, but I have heard Redneck before. Yeah. It didn't impress me, Redneck, I have to be honest.
I think that's the case for probably a lot of people. They're often on the video channels and whatnot. But so I'm a big fan of Lamb of God. Yeah, the opening minute is kind of, I like the video as well. It's a warehouse sort of setting, but the lighting and the shots are really, really good, really well done. there's a sort of single note riff on the bass. The vocals from Randy Blythe are sort of whispered in almost like a gothic metal style at this stage. But as you say, so it's a long intro. It's certainly the track doesn't kick in during this first 60 seconds.
No.
So not much else to add, really. Kirk?
Yeah, I also use the word ominous, Dave, an ominous guitar arpeggio and deadpan goth vocals. Andy, I picked up on that. To me, I'm thinking, has Randy Blythe turned into Andrew Eldritch of Sisters of Mercy, or even Peter Steele?
I got Pete Steele as well.
Yeah, because that Sisters of Mercy song, Marianne, I'm sure that some of the phrasing is almost similar. I hear you calling Marianne. And you know, we said putting on a voice. So we've got an American putting on an English voice here, really, haven't we? Because that's where goth music comes from. So, yeah, it's one of them you have to keep watching because you know it's Lamb of God and you're thinking, where's this going?
Yeah.
So it's quite successful the first minute if you know the band and this is the first time that you're hearing this track.
Okay. Let's give you minutes 1 to minute 2 for you at home.
Casablanca's heaven above the dying stars. I'll watch me breaking into a moonshot. But to the hardest hour below the coolest sand, I know I'm waking up from this wretched life.
Okay, so we've still got the intro for literally another 40 seconds of this minute. So it's 1 minute and 40 in total for the intro. For me, at this point, that next 40 seconds, it was overstaying its welcome. I was like, okay, yeah, I've got the point. Can you get into the track at this point? And I wrote down, it's almost typo negative in style. So yeah, I picked up the Pete Steele bit at that point. Then 140 kicks in and you just get this most brutal riff. The groove on the drums, Randy's vocals kick in. It just goes in a completely different direction. And you almost go, these two bits, how did you come up with the idea to do these two? Was it a natural progression to go from this ominous clean into this brutal part? Or was this written at two separate times and they went, we've got this really cool, but we need to have something to show real dynamic shift and dynamic change. So when it does kick in, it's not just like a 1, 2, 3, 4 into the track sort of thing. But yeah, really liked where it was starting to go for that 20 seconds of that minute. Andy?
Maybe they've taken on board the issue that you have regarding intros. I don't know where this song appears on the album, but you have a problem with intros being named as separate pieces of work.
Yeah.
When they should be just tagged onto the beginning of a song. This is exactly what Lamb of God have done on this one. So maybe that was the thinking, but it's a 6 minute or certainly 5 minute song. So you're wondering why this was picked as perhaps a video single, and maybe they could have done an edit. But being a Doom fan, I haven't got a problem with long intros, and I think this works really well. But as you say, it's a major shift in direction from that minute 30, minute 40 sort of intro into the song, which to me is just typical Lamb of God, double kick drums, usual ferocity from the band. But again, we've only got a little section of how the song's gonna go. But as I love this song. Really good.
Kirk?
Yeah, the scream of wake up at 1 minute and 38 seconds is the transition point, isn't it? And again, I think we've all seemed to have written the same notes independently. Cue the double kick drums and flowing guitars. And to me, at this point, before they start palm muting the guitars, which is in the next section, this sounds like Tool at their heaviest.
Okay.
To me. So yeah, it's starting to gather momentum now, isn't it, this track, but we're still not at that stage where the ferocity has established, a permanent barrage of guitars and drums.
Well, let's play you the next minute for you at home. So this is minute 2 to minute 3 of the video. Check it out.
A universe in the palm of your hand, the artifice of endless strength.
Okay, my notes were again more around the musical point of view, but I love the production of this song. So this was, this was before. This is 2020, and in 2020, the album. So considering it's only 4 years ago, or probably 5 years ago by now. By the time this video actually comes out, as it'll be 2025 probably. But if you think about it this way, it's like in 2020, people were still overproducing albums, but this sounded huge. This still sounded absolutely massive, but it's well balanced between the instrumentation. The riff that's in this section, absolutely on point. Vocals are sick as hell. Drums, I've got this really cool. They're heavy, they're weighted, but they've got a groove to them as well. And I'm almost kind of sometimes with when I think of Lamb of God, I'm almost worried that it's all going to be like, let's put really flashy double kick parts and blast beats and too many fills in. And there are elements of that, but everything serves the song. And that's my big thing about this one. Everything in here is serving the song. The drums are really technically on point, but they're not flashy. They're not what I see too many drummers nowadays trying to do is every time you get an even breadth of or a width to get in there, I'm going to put a little bit real technical thing and put some real funny things off of the cymbals and put an extra fill in there. And I'm like, but it doesn't serve the song. You're fighting with the guitar for room. What we have here is everyone doing their part and everyone serving the song really, really well. There's not an inch wasted and there's no one overstaying their welcome during the section, because there are always points I'm like, I don't get why the guitarist is doing that, or I don't get why the drummer's doing that. You're not doing anything to serve the song. And if anything, you're fighting the other instrumentation. In this point, in that whole section, I was like, everyone is working cohesively as a unit in this point, and it sounds brilliant. Andy?
This stage of the song, I've just got down that it's, again, just typical Lamb of God. You got the barking vocals from Randy Blythe. That staccato, palm, muted riff that they often employ, which I absolutely love. And I've noted down the drumming being really crisp and really tight and really adding to the song without being, as you said, Dave, too overboard with the technicality and the blast beats. But as a sort of, it's like a single video, like a video single and one I've heard before, and I've got the album list on. It's just, as I say, it's a good choice because it is what you'd expect from Lamb of God without having too many surprises.
Okay.
Dave, I'm like you. I know some of the songs. I do own 2004's Ashes of the Wake, which is a classic, isn't it, of modern metal. If we can say 20 years ago was modern. it was too, wasn't it?
Well, it felt like it for us. It's probably 20 years ago. Bloody hell.
Oh, and that's a great album. I think it's one everyone should own, even if you don't bother with anything else in the discography. Here, it's the metalcore crunch arrives now, doesn't it? With the guitarist chugging in palm muted formation and Randy growling into the microphone. And the drummer, by the way, Dave, on this is Art Cruz, who was in Prong with Tommy Victor.
Okay.
Before he joined Lamb of God, and he's fantastic, real great technician. But like you say, he's got the chops, but he's got the groove as well. And I just love the clarity of the kick and the snare in this. I think we've all mentioned, haven't we, at this point, the production. It just really, it almost sounds like a surround sound film, doesn't it? And the video matches it. To be fair, it's like. The video, the imagery, the darkness, it's kind of like a Blade Runner type filmography that they're using. But it's it's probably taken longer than it should to get to this point, I think, is what we're trying to say. Well, certainly Dave and I are probably agreeing on.
Yeah, one thing I didn't say, we've got the first chorus at 2.5 minutes as well. As you say, that's unusual for, that's literally about halfway through the track, isn't it, at this point?
Yeah. Well, let's play you the next minute of the song. This is minute 3 to minute 4 for you at home.
Distraction flows down an obsessive stream. Rejection grows into oppressive screams. The hardest hour, the cruelest sign. I'm waking up from this wretched lie. I find it the same, don't waste this day.
Okay, nothing major for me to talk about on this one. So for me, the only thing that came out of this was I actually realized I hadn't mentioned much about, apart from in the first minute, about the actual video itself. So really for me, I spent a bit of time because I was getting musically, it was just a repeat of pretty much the last minute. We had another versey bit going through, another kind of section of chorus. So I was like, okay, I know what's happening here. So I spent a bit more time looking at the video. I do love these warehouse shots, the way they shot it, because we see warehouse shots have been used since the early 2000s. Video bands went down this route in like sort of late 90s, early 2000s. Let's find an older band in warehouse and let's do some shots. But these guys have done a warehouse shot really, really well. The only other band that I ever saw really did it well with great cinematography. American Head Charge did a great video in an abandoned mental asylum, I think it was, and that looks phenomenal as well. But I loved those elements of it. Great story shots, great sort of warehouse shots. It was just everything was on point for the actual video element. Problem is, when I'm doing this, I'm less likely to look at the video. When we used to do it as a reaction video, I'd watch the video and just talk as I went. Because I'm making notes, my head's down more, making bullet points, and then looking up every so often. So I miss a lot of like the video element. So it was quite nice to get to this section and go, actually, it's the same musically, and I'm actually now watching the video.
The thing I used to get criticised for every fucking video, wasn't it? Me doing that.
Yeah, because I'm trying to find my 1 minute blocks. I can't speak at the moment, whereas I could speak in the moment. Now I can't speak in the moment. I have to look bloody down and make my notes, which is a shame because I probably missed some parts of the actual story of the video. But I'm trying to focus more musically. But yeah, not a lot of change on me from a musical point. Andy?
The only thing I've got to add regarding the music is that there was sort of like a bit of a sort of lead melody over the second verse, but the video, what I've noticed and I thought was a really good touch, the warehouse shots have kind of got this sort of blue tinge to the lighting, you know, that sort of encompasses the darkness as well, but sort of lights up certain areas. But they've also carried that forward to the like the story elements as well. Like there's a guy in his apartment and everything. That same sort of blue lighting and sort of effect is sort of carried through to those sections. So it all matches really well without there being this huge visual jump between the band playing in the warehouse to like the story element shots as well. So they've done really well in that respect.
Yeah.
Not quite sure what's going on because there's lots of very fast cut shots of this guy being tormented by sort of demonic figures and whatever, but
no, I didn't get that far into it. I'm sure it means something to do with Memento Mori, but Kirk?
Yeah, Memento Mori translates from Latin to English as Remember You Must Die. This video actually, Dave, do you remember, the band Bush? Their single Greedy Fly. The video reminds me of that from 1997, where that's got a lot of film dialogue in it as well. And Gavin Rossdale is doing some acting in it from what I remember. And it's got a similar mood to it. Musically though, yeah, this I think what you would say here is that yes, you've got the bone crunching guitars and the deliberate and slight misalignment with the drums. And you can see why this band are seen as the successors to Pantera, because we know what happens, unfortunately, to Dimebag Darrell in 2004. What I would say a modern metalcore band would spoil this chorus with clean vocals, to match those vibrant high-register guitars. And Lamb of God, you're never going to get that, thankfully, because Randy Blythe, he's a force of nature, isn't he? He really is vitriolic and he means every word. And
true.
He can snarl and he can growl. He can do all. He's clearly influenced Tatiana from Ginger. She'll be the first to say her main influence is Randy Blythe, and that whole generation that came after these do owe a lot to him, don't they? And we know he's a punk rock guy. He's not actually a metalhead, Randy, either. He's very much into his skateboard and his punk rock music. No doubt, I assume he likes Suicidal Tendencies. They're probably one of his favorite bands.
Okay, let's move on to the next section. This is minute 4 to minute 5 for you at home. Okay, we get to the midsection now. So we've got this really cool chug. Do you know what it reminds me of? Kariga was the first band that kind of came on. It's simple. It's almost rock at this point. That midsection, it's not as brutal as heavy as I thought it was. I was like, this is kind of just a simple rock riff, which is cool, but it's still really heavy. And then we go back to the ominous clean that we kind of had, or the ominous clean vibe that we had at the beginning of the song, which I think actually works really, really well. I think probably in the previous minute where I said there was nothing to talk about musically, it's because I was waiting to see what they were going to do on a mid, because you knew it was coming, you just didn't know exactly where. So when you're reviewing, you're like, okay, I know what's this. Let's get forward. Let's kind of get to the next section so I can give you some commentary on that, because I have nothing more to say. I've already said everything I can about the last section. But yeah, no, really simple. And again, everyone, I actually liked the fact that this midsection, it gives you just that little bit of respite from the brutality of the sections before, which is really good. Whereas modern metalcore bands, they want to make their midsections even more brutal than the last section. They're like, this is the section we're going to go so slow, so heavy in our mid breakdowns. We want to see you all like smashing the place up, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, does it really need that? I know that is like bands like Knock Loose, stuff like that. They love that sort of shit. But for me, this was a midsection done really, really well. It's kept it simple, but it works in line with the song. Andy.
Oh yeah, I like this. Really like this minute. That, you know, as it starts, we've got the breakdown, which again I've been saying all session. It's a sort, typical Lamb of God. So I really enjoyed that breakdown and the return of the clean passage with I can't even know, sort of dry metal vocals over some of the lines. So it doesn't exactly repeat what he does at the very beginning of the song, but this again is very well composed as a song in the format. There's lots of sections, but they work really well throughout the length of the song. It's not unlike what we said before. Pop song written in very quickly and very simply and left alone as an accessible pop format song. They've actually worked up this, thought about what section they need to go where. Is this superfluous? Can we put this in here as well? And I think the composition of the song, start to finish, is really, really good.
Kirk.
I was listening to Slayer Rain in Blood yesterday when I was writing my music reviews. When did that come out? 1986. And the song Rain in Blood has got to be the first ever breakdown in metal when you listen to it. And they do something similar here, don't they? At 4 minutes, 5 seconds. We could have a conversation about different types of breakdowns. This is definitely coming from Slayer. And I can't think of one song prior to that's really done that. We know in death metal, the band Suffocation are credited with doing this in 1991. And you could argue that the subgenre of deathcore basically just copies that. But they've got more overproduction than they've got this one. It's coming. Still sounds fucking great though, doesn't it? It does feel inevitable that they'll go back to the Type O Negative intro rather than a guitar solo at 4 minutes and 37 seconds. But you can see why they've done that. It kind of explains as well why the intro is so long. And to bring that back is it's the right thing to do there, I would say, rather than do a Judas Priest Painkiller trade-off of guitar solos, which they could have done because they had the tempo, but they chose to reset the dynamics here, which I think was the right thing to do for the song.
Okay, well, for that, you back home, we'll just give you the last 45 seconds of the song for you. Okay, so again, that was the chorus. It goes into a main riff. Very tasty, very good. I don't have anything more to add because we've already talked about those particular sections of the song, but it makes complete sense from where going from that midsection into the clean, ominous section, then back into a chorus, into that main riff. A great way to end the song. It was an obvious way to do it. I mean, they could have probably gone back and done that ominous thing right to the end and made it into like an 8-minute song with over producing it. But I think actually keeping it to 5:45 and finishing it the way they did makes complete sense for the track. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyable. Andy.
Yeah, completely agree. That sort of intro could have faded out to the outro, but they've brought back the chorus as a way just to draw a line under the song and, you know, make it what you remember it for at the end. You know, the sort of very memorable and sing-along chorus, not sing-along chorus, but, you know, when you've got the song title in the chorus, it kind of makes you remember how the chorus goes and what the song's called, obviously, but fuck me.
Kirk.
I remember when this album came out, and
6 out of 10 on Screen Blast Repeat.
No, guess what? I actually got a guest reviewer to do it, who's in a band called Scarlet Envy. I got Mike and Kim to write. Mike did the review and Kim edited it because he's a big fan, isn't he? So no, he gave it 8. He gave it 8 out of 10.
Really?
And I Mike's judgment as a great guitar player and the king of the pinch harmonic in the local Hertfordshire metal scene. He knows what he's talking about. So yeah, it's one of those bands. I don't really have the knowledge of them other than owning their 2004 album. So I brought in a guest reviewer, and yeah, he loved it. Yeah, I'm like you. I don't think there's really much you need to add in the last minute of this song. You've got
just a bookend, isn't it? It's just bookending the song.
Yeah.
So all done and dusted for them. So yeah, good track there by Lamb of God, Memento Mori. Now let us know what you think about the track in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching today, and we'll see you in the video sometime very soon. Take care.